to say shame on anyone, and I mean anyone, who continues to beat up on Joe Biden.
Today's a day that ends in Y, so Democrat TikTokers are exploiting a tragedy. We just got the very sad news that former President Biden has advanced prostate cancer, and of course, like me and basically all good-natured people, just wish him the best, wish him a good recovery. I will say this. A few people on X I saw like basically happy that he's sick or something. And if you ever find yourself rooting for cancer, partisan politics and tribalism may have broken your brain. But also, if you start exploiting a cancer diagnosis to achieve political ends or shut down inconvenient political narratives, like several prominent Democratic TikTokers did, that's also not good and not going to work. For example, here's a video from the Democratic strategist and influencer Olivia Juliana.
And to every single one of those Democratic figures who have spent the last few weeks going after Biden, I hope that you feel the weight of how much of a piece of trash you actually are. Because now you haven't just been going after someone who is no longer in elected office, who no longer has power. You've been going after a grandfather who has an extremely aggressive form of cancer, who is probably trying to live out the rest of his days with his family. And instead of spending your time and using your platforms to talk about the guy who is cutting research funding to kids with cancer and deporting children with cancer, you're going after the guy who is no longer in the White House. And that's why I have no tolerance for this bullshit anymore. Leave Joe Biden alone. Move on past 2024 and focus on the shit that we're dealing with right now in 2025.
So this is wild to me because this influencer, who is clearly a Biden fangirl, is suggesting that people should feel bad for having criticized the Biden administration and their cover-up of his clear cognitive decline because it turns out he has cancer. But of course, I don't even agree with that logic, but even if you did, well, no one knew he had cancer until he just revealed it. So how are they supposed to account for that in their criticisms and commentary when they didn't even know about this fact? That doesn't even make sense. And more importantly, as much as I wish him the best and hope that he can recover from this, and my heart goes out to his family, you don't get a pass on a massive scandal and abuse of power that I think imperiled our national security. The fact that our president was in severe cognitive decline and they covered it up and worked to push false narratives, and official after official and media personality after media personality came on TV or on air or in front of reporters and insisted that nothing to see here. It's all just Republican misinformation. Well, guess what? When you have a president who's not up to the job, who forgets lifelong friends and gets confused about basic facts, that imperils our national security, because at any moment he could be called into the Situation Room and have to make, even at 4 a.m, have to make a decision that affects literally the fate of the human race when it comes to nuclear weapons or something like that. So no, it's very sad that Biden has cancer, but we're not going to just shut up and never criticize his administration or the lies and the deceit again because he's sick. That's not a get out of jail free card for everything that you did wrong in your life, nor should it be. But another Democratic TikTok star, Harry Sisson, had a similar argument in a video he put out. Let's take a look at that.
So President Biden was just diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. It's also metastasized into his bones, which is incredibly concerning and incredibly heartbreaking. So I wanted to take this opportunity to say shame on anyone, and I mean anyone, who continues to beat up on Joe Biden. This man is no longer an elected official. He has dedicated his life to public service, whether you agree with him or not, and he is a father, a grandfather, and a man with cancer who wants to live out the rest of his life with his family. But right now, we have conservatives and people in the media profiting off of, writing books about, commentating on this man's health. And to anybody doing that, shame on you.
So I really just reject this framing entirely. I mean, Democrats never had the same energy, nor should they have, to be clear, about just moving on and no longer discussing former President Trump's alleged misdeeds and alleged crimes after his first term, even though he's a father and a grandfather. That's just kind of irrelevant. I mean, well, he's no longer in power. Just move on and talk about what's happening now. I mean, none of y'all had that energy in 2021, 2022, 2023 when you continued to go after Trump for the things that he did or didn't, I mean, depending how you view the different allegations, did wrong in his first term as president. And to be clear, I don't think you should. I don't think like a term ends and just everything's the past, let it all go. But by your own logic, you should have. See how that doesn't make sense? And again, you don't get to just negate this whole very serious controversy and cover up just because he's sick now. In fact, this actually raises even more questions about this cover up because according to medical experts, it is unlikely that they really just discovered this cancer now. He certainly had this cancer already when he was president, and if they somehow didn't know about it, then that's a scandal in and of itself because he has the best medical care there is. He's supposed to have the best medical care and a whole team of doctors and nurses attending to him, and they should have caught it. And then if he did know and they just covered it up, that's another issue that should be raised. So if Harry thinks that this means we're going to move on from discussing Biden's health, no. It means the opposite. And I want to be clear, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an oncologist, but the questions I'm raising about the cancer and the timeline here are being raised by many serious, nonpartisan, non-ideological medical professionals. Just listen to this clip of a doctor on News Nation.
It's very unusual to hear that someone has prostate cancer where they're annually being followed up. And the fact that we just find it at a Gleason 9 is just pretty much unheard of in this day and age of medicine. Even even in the inner city populations, we wouldn't see it.
So you're saying even in a medically neglected population, it would be surprising to have a surprise diagnosis with a Gleason score of 9. So you're saying that certainly as he was serving in the Oval Office, you believe that he knew that he had prostate cancer, and even potentially as he was running in 2020 before he assumed office?
Well, most likely he had prostate cancer for a long time, and aggressive prostate cancer such as this at age 80 grows over a long period of time. I mean, usually it takes from the first diagnosis of prostate cancer to spread would take 5 to 10 years.
So to be very clear, you believe he was silently, secretly battling this for at least 5 years?
Well, I think that's yet to be seen. I mean, it would be very surprising, like I said earlier, for him to have prostate cancer at Gleason 9 spread to bone without without being neglected medically. So the fact that he was seen medically every year, I think there's definitely evidence that he probably knew about this for a while.
So no, we are not going to be moving on from discussing Biden's health after this, and you're not going to emotionally blackmail or shame us into doing so. I understand that for Democratic partisans like Harry and like Olivia, it would be very convenient if nobody talked about the massive scandals that they may have even participated in terms of denying Biden's clear cognitive decline, but we are not going to move on so quickly. There's still a lot of reckoning and accountability that needs to happen, and while Biden's cancer diagnosis is really sad, and I genuinely do wish him all the best, I'm not going to cave to the emotional blackmail of that meaning we can no longer criticize what happened while he was president or his scandals, and I don't think most Americans are going to buy that narrative either. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.